What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving into the absolute giants of the screen. We're talking about the stories that defined generations and the shows that broke the internet. From gritty crime dramas to epic fantasy worlds, these are the top 10 greatest TV series of all time. Before we jump into number 10, do me a huge favor, smash that like button and hit subscribe right now. It really helps the channel grow so I can keep bringing you these deep dives into the world of cinema. Ready? Let's get into it. Number 1, Breaking Bad. When we talk about the greatest television achievement in history, Breaking Bad stands in a league of its own, delivering a masterclass in storytelling that transformed the medium forever. The saga of Walter White, a brilliant but overlooked chemistry teacher turned methamphetamine kingpin, wasn't just a show, it was a cultural shift that explored the darkest corners of the human ego. Financially, the series evolved from a risky gamble for AMC into a billion-dollar asset for Sony Pictures Television, eventually commanding ad rates of over $400,000 per 30-second spot during its final run. The production itself was a massive economic engine, with a budget that grew to over $3 million per episode, ensuring that every frame looked like a feature film. But the true story lies in the staggering viewership growth that defied all industry logic. In its infancy, the show struggled to find an audience, premiering to just 1.4 million viewers and facing the constant threat of cancellation. However, through the power of streaming and word of mouth, it exploded into a global juggernaut, culminating in a series finale that drew a breathtaking 10.3 million live viewers, a nearly 700% increase from its debut. Beyond the screen, the brand's reach is unparalleled, with the Breaking Bad universe spawning a billion-dollar franchise including Better Call Saul and El Camino. Holding the Guinness World Record for the highest critical acclaim, the show remains a gold standard for how to execute a perfect character arc, proving that with enough chemistry and ambition, you can turn a modest television pilot into an immortal piece of global history. Number 2, The Sopranos. If Breaking Bad is the perfect character study, The Sopranos is the foundation upon which all modern prestige television was built. Premiering in 1999, it introduced the world to Tony Soprano, a New Jersey mob boss who suffers from panic attacks and starts seeing a therapist. This simple premise turned into a cultural earthquake, blending brutal crime drama with deep psychological analysis. Financially, the show was a titan for HBO, with a production budget that eventually climbed to a staggering $2 million to $5 million per episode as the seasons progressed. The success of the show helped HBO grow from a simple movie channel into a global media powerhouse, generating billions of dollars in subscriptions and home media sales over the last 2 decades. At its peak, the show was an economic juggernaut, with the final season's cast salaries alone reaching record-breaking heights. James Gandolfini famously earned $1 million per episode, a figure almost unheard of at the time. The viewership numbers were just as revolutionary as the writing. The series finale in 2007 drew an incredible 11.9 million live viewers, and that was before the era of modern streaming, meaning people had to physically sit in front of their TVs at a specific time to witness history. Throughout its run, The Sopranos averaged over 10 million viewers per episode, making it the most-watched cable series of its era. It didn't just win fans, it won a record-breaking 21 Emmy Awards and paved the way for every anti-hero show we love today. Even years after the famous cut to black ending, the series continues to generate millions in streaming revenue and has found a second life with a new generation of fans, proving that Tony Soprano's legacy is as immortal as the mafia myths he lived by. Number 3, The Wire. While other shows focused on individual heroes, The Wire took on an entire city, creating a cinematic masterpiece that felt more like a visual novel than a police procedural. Set in the drug-ravaged streets of Baltimore, Maryland, the series examined the war on drugs from every possible angle, from the low-level dealers on the corners to the high-ranking politicians in City Hall. Financially, the show was a high-stakes investment for HBO, with each season costing roughly $20 million to $30 million to produce. Although it was never a massive box office hit during its original run, its long-term financial value has been astronomical. Once it moved to the DVD and streaming markets, it became a multi-million-dollar asset, sold to over 150 countries and translated into dozens of languages. It turned unknown actors like Idris Elba and Michael B. Jordan into global superstars, launching careers that have since generated billions of dollars in global box office revenue. The viewership story of The Wire is one of the most unique in TV history. During its initial broadcast, it struggled to break past 4 million viewers, often overshadowed by flashier hits like The Sopranos. However, it achieved what few shows ever do: immortal relevance. Over the last 2 decades, its viewership has actually grown through streaming platforms like Max, where it consistently ranks as a top-tier library title. It didn't need massive overnight ratings to change the world. Instead, it used its gritty realism to influence real-world social policy and academic studies at universities like Harvard. With an almost perfect critical score and a legacy that grows stronger every year, The Wire proved that television could be more than just entertainment. It could be a powerful, uncompromising mirror held up to society itself. Number 4. Game of Thrones. In the history of entertainment, few titles have ever commanded the world's attention like Game of Thrones. What began as a complex fantasy book series was transformed by HBO into a sprawling, multi-continental epic that redefined the limits of television production. The financial scale of the show was unprecedented. In the early seasons, episodes cost roughly $6 million to produce, but by the final season, that figure exploded to a staggering $15 million per episode. This massive investment fueled a global production machine that filmed in 8 different countries, from the frozen landscapes of Iceland to the historic walls of Croatia, injecting hundreds of millions of dollars into local economies. For HBO, the series was a goldmine, driving the network's value to new heights and generating an estimated $2.2 billion in total revenue through subscriptions, international licensing, and home media sales. The viewership numbers were equally legendary, marking the show as the last true, water cooler, event of the digital age. Starting with an average of 2.5 million viewers in its first season, the audience grew exponentially every year. By the final season, the show was averaging a massive 44 million viewers per episode across all platforms in the United States alone. Internationally, the reach was even more staggering, with the series finale being broadcast in over 170 countries simultaneously, often breaking the internet as millions of fans logged on at the exact same moment. Despite its controversial ending, Game of Thrones remains the most awarded drama series in Emmy history with 59 wins. It proved that fantasy could be high art, adult-themed, and globally dominant, creating a legacy that continues today through its billion-dollar spin-offs and its status as a permanent titan of pop culture. Number 5. Succession. If Game of Thrones was about kings fighting for a throne of swords, Succession brought that same brutal battle into the boardrooms of 21st century New York. The series follows the Roy family, the dysfunctional owners of a global media and entertainment empire, as the 4 adult children scramble for control while their father's health declines. From a financial perspective, the show was an absolute titan for HBO. The production reflected the billionaire lifestyle it depicted, with a budget that climbed to over $10 million per episode for the final season. This allowed for filming in some of the most expensive locations on Earth, from private villas in Tuscany to luxury penthouses in Manhattan, utilizing the same private jets and superyachts that the world's 0.1% actually use. For the network, Succession wasn't just a show, it was a prestige magnet that drove millions of high-value subscribers and cemented HBO's dominance in the streaming era. The viewership and critical impact of Succession were nothing short of extraordinary. While it started as a niche hit for critics, its audience grew by over 45% between the 3rd and 4th seasons. The series finale drew a record-breaking 2.9 million viewers on its first night alone, a massive number for a complex, dialogue-driven drama. But its true power was in the cultural conversation. It dominated social media every Sunday night, with millions of fans analyzing every insult and betrayal as if they were real historical events. The show was a juggernaut at the award ceremonies, winning back-to-back Emmys for Outstanding Drama Series and a total of 19 wins over its run. It proved that in the modern age, a story about family, greed, and the crushing weight of an empire could be the most compelling thing on television, leaving behind a legacy as one of the sharpest and most perfectly written series in history. Number 6. Better Call Saul. In the world of television, prequels are often seen as risky, but Better Call Saul did the impossible. It took the foundation laid by Breaking Bad and built a skyscraper on top of it. The series tracks the transformation of Jimmy McGill, a small-time public defender with a heart of gold, into Saul Goodman, the criminal lawyer for the underworld. Financially, the show was a massive victory for Sony Pictures and AMC. With a production budget averaging roughly $3 million to $3.5 million per episode, the creators used every cent to craft a visual style that many critics argue is even more beautiful and cinematic than the original series. The show became a major global asset, licensed to platforms like Netflix in deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars, ensuring that the Breaking Bad universe remained a dominant financial force for over a decade. While it started in the shadow of its predecessor, the viewership and critical legacy of Better Call Saul stand entirely on their own. The series premiere broke cable records at the time with 6.9 million viewers, making it the highest-rated series premiere in basic cable history. Over its six-season run, it maintained a massive, dedicated global audience, consistently ranking as one of the most streamed dramas in the world. What makes the show truly legendary is its critical consistency. It was nominated for an incredible 53 Primetime Emmy Awards. Although it famously never won the Outstanding Drama trophy, it is widely regarded by critics as a perfect series that achieved a level of writing and acting that most shows can only dream of. It proved that a slow burn, intellectual tragedy could be just as gripping as an action-packed thriller, cementing its place as a top-tier masterpiece of the modern era. Number 7 Chernobyl. In 2019, a 5-part miniseries did something no one expected. It became the highest-rated show in history on IMDb within weeks of its release. Chernobyl is a chilling, meticulous recreation of the 1986 nuclear power plant disaster in Soviet Ukraine, and the desperate, heroic efforts to contain a catastrophe that threatened the entire European continent. Financially, the project was a massive co-production between HBO and Sky, with a budget estimated at over $40 million for just 5 hours of television. This allowed the creators to build a world of staggering detail, from the authentic Soviet-era costumes to the bone-chillingly realistic makeup used to depict radiation sickness. The investment paid off instantly, as the series became a global sensation, driving record-breaking traffic to HBO's streaming platforms and boosting the network's prestige during a critical transition period. The viewership and critical reception of Chernobyl were nothing short of a miracle. Despite its dark and heavy subject matter, it drew in over 8 million viewers per episode across all platforms, making it one of the most watched limited series in cable history. It became a cultural phenomenon that sparked a global conversation about the cost of lies and the importance of scientific truth. At the Emmy Awards, it was a dominant force, winning 10 trophies, including Outstanding Limited Series. But its impact went far beyond the screen. It caused a 30% to 40% surge in tourism to the actual Chernobyl exclusion zone as a new generation sought to understand the history depicted in the show. By combining terrifying realism with deep human emotion, Chernobyl proved that a miniseries could be a cinematic masterpiece, leaving an indelible mark on television history. Number 8 The Twilight Zone. Long before the era of big-budget streaming, one man, Rod Serling, created a universe that would haunt the human imagination for decades. The Twilight Zone, which first premiered in 1959, was a revolutionary anthology series that used science fiction, fantasy, and the supernatural to explore the deepest ironies and flaws of human nature. Financially, the show was a high-stakes venture for CBS at the time. With an average production budget of about $50,000 per episode in the early 1960s, which would be over $500,000 today, it was a major investment for a half-hour drama. Over the last 60 years, its financial legacy has grown into the billions. Through constant syndication, international licensing, and multiple high-budget reboots including one by Jordan Peele, the brand has become one of the most profitable intellectual properties in the history of television, proving that a great idea never truly dies. The viewership and cultural impact of The Twilight Zone are staggering. In an era where there were only a few television channels, the show commanded an audience of nearly 20 million viewers per week during its peak, making Rod Serling a household name. But its true power lies in its longevity. It has been broadcast continuously somewhere in the world for over 65 years, influencing every major filmmaker from Steven Spielberg to Jordan Peele. It introduced the world to the twist ending, and tackled heavy social issues like racism, war, and government control, all hidden behind the mask of aliens and ghosts to get past the censors of the time. With 3 Emmy Awards and a permanent spot in the Library of Congress, it remains the ultimate gold standard for anthology storytelling, proving that the most terrifying and wonderful things aren't just in space, but right here in the human mind. Number 9. Mad Men. In the late 2000s, a series arrived that didn't rely on explosions or cliffhangers, but on the crushing weight of silence and the power of a perfect pitch. Mad Men is a stunningly detailed journey into the 1960s, following Don Draper, a mysterious, brilliant, and deeply flawed advertising executive navigating a world of shifting social values. From a financial perspective, the show was the foundation upon which the AMC network built its empire. While it started with a modest budget, the cost eventually rose to over $3 million per episode, largely due to the fanatical attention to period-accurate detail, from the mid-century furniture to the authentic vintage fashion. For the producers, the show became a multi-million-dollar global export, sold to over 70 countries and sparking a worldwide revival of 1960s aesthetic that generated billions in retail and fashion revenue through Mad Men-inspired collections at major brands like Banana Republic. The viewership and critical legacy of Mad Men are a testament to the power of high-art television. While it was never a mass-market hit like a sitcom, it maintained a solid, loyal audience of roughly 3 to 4 million viewers per episode, peaking during its series finale, which became a massive cultural moment. What truly set it apart, however, was its dominance at the award ceremonies. Mad Men made history by winning the Emmy for Outstanding Drama Series 4 years in a row, a feat achieved by very few. It won a total of 16 Emmys and 5 Golden Globes, cementing its status as the ultimate critics' darling. By examining the American dream through the lens of a man who had everything but felt nothing, Mad Men proved that television could be as deep, as layered, and as visually beautiful as the greatest novels of the 20th century. Number 10. The Office. While most of the entries on this list are intense dramas, The Office achieved a level of cultural immortality that few shows in any genre can match. By using a mockumentary style, complete with shaky cameras and direct looks into the lens, the show turned the mundane life of a suburban paper company into a global sensation. Financially, the series is one of the most profitable assets in entertainment history. Originally produced on a modest budget, its value exploded as it entered syndication. In 2019, NBC Universal paid a staggering $500 million just to secure the streaming rights for 5 years, outbidding competitors in one of the biggest content deals ever recorded. When you factor in international licensing, merchandise, and the billions of minutes streamed every year, The Office has generated billions of dollars in revenue, making it a cornerstone of the modern media economy. The viewership story of The Office is a legendary tale of a second life. During its original broadcast run, it was a solid hit, averaging around 8 million viewers per episode and peaking with over 22 million for its historic post-Super Bowl episode. However, its true power was revealed in the streaming era. For multiple years in a row, it was officially the most watched show on the planet, with audiences racking up over 57 billion minutes of watch time in a single year alone. The show won 5 Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Comedy Series, and turned Steve Carell into a global superstar. Even a decade after its finale, it remains the ultimate comfort show, transcending language and culture to become a permanent part of the global lexicon. It proved that the most extraordinary stories are often found in the most ordinary places, cementing its place as the greatest sitcom of the 21st century.